I'd just like to ask you about the issue of tax cuts. The media has made a big deal from time to time about how you voted against the Bush tax cuts in 2001 and 2003. And it seems that most of the time you respond by saying that it was irresponsible fiscally and that we have to match tax cuts with spending cuts. And I respect and appreciate that answer, but I think there's another piece of the puzzle, and I have to ask you, in terms of who's receiving those tax cuts. In 2001, on the floor of the Senate, you said, "I cannot in good conscience support a tax cut in which so many of the benefits go to the most fortunate among us at the expense of the middle-class Americans who most need tax relief." And then about the 2003 tax cuts, when you were asked by the Wall Street Journal editorial board in 2005, you said, "I just thought it was..."
You're going to have to ask me a question, my friend.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I just thought it was too tilted to the wealthy, and I still do. So my question is, how will the McCain tax cuts look different from the Bush tax cuts? Are you simply trying to make the Bush tax cuts permanent, or now that you have a chance to do something about this, are you willing to do something different?
Thank you, and thank you for your thoughtful scholarship. You've done a lot of research. Thank you. Let me just say that my first comment is that if you do not make these present tax cuts permanent, American businesses, families, and all walks of life will experience the largest tax increase in history. That's why they need to be made permanent. We cannot, at this point in our economy, but going back, I would like to bring you some of my other quotes during that debate. I had my own package of spending cuts. They were somewhat different than the president's, and they were significantly different in some ways. But I also had spending restraints. The major reason I had was because we let spending get out of control. In the 1980s, when President Reagan came to power and assumed the presidency, when we enacted significant tax cuts, we also restrained spending. You cannot let spending get out of control the way we did and preside over the largest increase in the size of government since the Great Society and expect something not to go out of kilter. I favor further tax cuts. I favor them because I think history shows that. I think you can dispute about tax cuts and their effect, but one area of tax cuts you cannot dispute is capital gains. History, since 1960, beginning with Jack Kennedy, since 1960, every time we've cut capital gains, there has been an increase in revenue. I mean, that's just indisputable facts. Senator Obama wants to raise capital gains taxes. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. So I want to make the tax cuts permanent, and I had my own argument at the time. And thank you. Yes, sir. And by the way, if you wanted to follow up, please go ahead. I think it's important at these things. If you wanted to follow up, go ahead.
Well, and I appreciate your answer, but I am curious, just in terms of the way that those tax cuts are distributed, are you looking at doing that different than when you said that it would, you couldn't vote for it in moral conscience back in 2001? Are you looking at helping people who are more at the bottom end who don't receive capital gains tax cuts?
Well, 100 million Americans, my friend, report on their income tax capital gains. So we're not talking about the wealthiest Americans. We're talking about 100 million Americans who have something to do with capital gains. I guess it depends on what you call the wealthiest or the least wealthy. But so I would favor further tax cuts. But look, first we got to get spending under control. We've got to eliminate the growth in the size of government.